evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Sneha Koshy and you're watching Beyond the Headline. If you're thinking, why am I all smiles? Because tonight's show is going to be about Dil Walon Ki Dilli. Of course, it's going to be about Daulat Ka Chaat. It's going to be about Dolma Auntie Ke Momos and so much more. But it's also about what's the political deal for Dil Walon of Dilli. Well, let's just see how this goes. We've got some top-notch panelists because they are the stakeholders of the elections in the national capital, from first-time voters to activists to mothers to professionals to techies, all of them. Of what do they make out of the politics in Delhi and the issues before them. But first, allow me to take you through the headlines.
दिल्ली ने जिस तरह की राज्य सरकार देखी है वो किसी आपदा से कम नहीं है।
आपदा दिल्ली में नहीं आई, आपदा भाजपा में आई हुई है और जो काम दिल्ली सरकार कर रही है उस काम को लोग आपदा नहीं आशीर्वाद कहते हैं।
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the season when you enjoy your Daulat Ka Chaat. That's right, that lovely, lovely dessert. If you've ever been to Delhi, you ought to have it. You only get it in winters, and Chandni Chowk is the place where you need to go for that. Typically famous in Chandni Chowk, but whether it be enjoying Daulat Ka Chaat or Dolma Auntie Ke Momos, absolutely yummy. Sitaram Diwan Chand's Bhature. I actually wrote it down as Diwan Chand and my office objected. They said it's Sitaram Diwan Chand's Bhature, the legendary Wengers for that matter, or the greatest of all butter chicken debates. Dil Walon Ki Dilli is seen as a melting pot, and the battle for Delhi can get fierce and ugly. But what do Dilli wale make of this? What will make them breach their own apathy? Do their struggles matter to them and the politicians when they vote? Tonight is about just that. I'm being joined by an exciting panel today, all of them voters in Delhi. Beyond the fracas and freebies, in a city choking in more ways than one, it is about Dilli Ka Tadka, a vote for a capital that India deserves. Allow me at this point to introduce my panel to you. Bhavreen Kandhari, who's an environmentalist and member My Right to Breathe. She's also a mother, she's also a working woman. I'm also being joined by Professor Tanvir Aeijaz, who's a columnist as well as an academician. Rahul Bajaj, who's a CEO for Digital Darwin, startups and techs. He's going to be representing all of that. Amrita Sarkar, who's an advisor, transgender well-being and advocacy at India HIV/AIDS Alliance. Odisha Sharma, who's a first-time voter, as well as Arnav Tiwari, who's also going to be a first-time voter. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. What a great way to start the election cycle in Delhi. Let me just straight go to the first-time voters at this point. Arnav Tiwari, my first question to you. Arnav, what makes you excited? Are you excited? What is it?
Yeah.
How is it that you view this entire elections?
So, hi everyone. I'm Arnav. So, this will be my first elections as a voter, as I've turned 19, and I'm very lucky to be voting for the first time in Delhi. And to be very honest, I'm very, very excited after seeing all the parties in action and, coming out with their promises and the things that they have to give to the young voters and the people of Delhi. Because as ma'am, you will know and our panelist will know today that Delhi is a very diverse state. People from all the corners of the country are here in this state and they're working, and it becomes very important for the government.
That's true, Arnav. But as a first-time voter, when you go to cast your vote, how are you going to be deciding who to cast your vote for?
There are certain factors, ma'am. Definitely, there will be certain factors that what the different parties have to offer to Delhi ki janta. And other than
What do
that,
you want? Have you thought about
uh,
it?
yeah, see, I'm a law student currently. I'm a second year law student. So I would be asking for, as there has been issue for the advocates protection bill, I would really want that to happen. Along with that, I would want new and more opportunities for the youth, as I think and I take this opportunity to talk for the youth on this point of time, and new job opportunities and new opportunities where the youth can, show their skills and tell people that who they actually are.
Okay. Okay, Bhavreen Kandhari, if I can get you in. Bhavreen, now we just had a first-time voter. He's going to be voting for the first time. He may take a little more time to decide on how to go about voting. What are the issues that really matter to him? The next few weeks are going to be crucial, and that's why I think political parties, all of them, will be gunning for the young voters. That's literally a sizable part of the population, the vote share as it was. But Bhavreen, you are not only a seasoned voter, you're also a seasoned environmentalist, a mother. What are you looking at these elections for? When parties come to ask you for votes, fight over your votes, what is going to be the decisive factor for you?
Thank you, Sneha, for the show and bringing such diverse voices, and starting with the youth, of course, and then as a mother, as a parent. I think the first and the foremost thing that any parent would want is the best that they can do for their children, which means health, and something that, of course, you and I have been speaking for years now is our concern is air pollution with the current crisis of the state of the air, which is one of the worst, probably the worst in the world. So it's very important, of course, that something that the citizens must demand. Like I, of course, agree with the young panelist here, but these are the children, the youth. They all have to understand that they're losing more than 12 years of their life staying in Delhi. So the first and foremost thing that we all need to question our candidates right now when we are, of course, like I said, they're all out in the rallies for a change. We are seeing them. They're coming to our colonies. They are coming to our constituencies. We must make this a point and demand. So, it's connected to so many things, like we speak over the rest of the months that we spoke about. There's a complete lack of systemic changes that were required, that were much needed, for the governments to and the authorities to have taken action on. And now is the time to actually point that out, because when they're coming into these colonies, these constituencies, it's all there. There's nothing that needs to be, really said, because they can see it. It's not like they don't know it, but now is the point to connect the things. See, urban planning is not about only widening roads and making flyovers. It's about sewerage. We saw how many children lost lives, the drowning into sewerage and everything, the water, kicking back, etc. It's about waste management.
Bhavreen,
it's about,
even as we discussed today, even as we discuss these issues, the air quality index in the national capital is poor. But when we wake up to a poor air quality index, we go, oh, yes, that's good. The oxymoron in this, a poor air quality index that actually snuffs life out of your lifespan, out of your system, is actually good for average Delhiite living in the national capital, because it could have been just far more worse. Bhavreen, despite this being said, do you see this become as a poll issue? Do you think Delhi will vote on this? Do you think politicians will bring this to the table?
Yes, if we demand. That is why I appreciate that for you to bring this show on, and for us to get this chance to actually reach out to the citizens, because we have to demand. We will have to ask for it. The politicians are clearly focused on votes. They are not, unless it's not an electoral issue, they will not bring it. You and I know that. We are so clear with all these freebies and, talking about giving them, some behen and this kind of all these new schemes that they're bringing in and luring the citizens. We have to understand that nothing works for us. Nothing will help us if we don't have health. Health is the most important thing that we need for ourselves, for our children, for their future, for the youth, for a 3 trillion economy, everything. So it's so important that we demand that, and we have all gone through it. Everybody, even now, like you said, it's becoming a norm. This is a narrative that is being set by the leaders, by the authorities. We have come to a point, like you said, if it's 150 or 200, we are fine with it. We are just talking about it in GRAP 4 and 3, and these terms have actually, it's strange that even, the most ordinary people are, talking of GRAP, so they learn and they've understood it, but nobody is, kind of understanding the seriousness of this, that this is PM 2.5. It's a cocktail of poison.
Right.
There is no pause mode. Like if you offer me water right now, dirty water, I'm not going to drink it, but there's no choice for air. We are all breathing it continuously, as much as we've been talking about this for decades and working and pushing policies. So I think this is important, that citizens must demand, the right to breathe clean air. It's our constitutional right.
Okay. Sure. Professor Tanvir Aeijaz, you're a parent, you're an academician, and you're a voter. While there is a fight for your vote across party lines, what do you think is going to be decisive in this Delhi elections?
The issues, of course, are those old issues. I mean, there's nothing new. And as one of the panelists said that, environment is not coming up on the political agenda. So the same old freebies and the free goods are there on the cards, and slightly with a tinge of, but there are certain things which have come up in this election, and of course I think that's going to come up. One is about the whole fairness of the election process itself, right? Now the battle has begun, and AAP is basically contesting that the election commission perhaps is not doing its job. It's not very transparent. So one, of course, is this, and there is a mistrust among people also that perhaps election commission is not doing its job well. So one is this, but the decisive issues, of course, which should have been, of course, hygiene and health and environment and unemployment, as one of the first-time voters said, unemployment, because he's looking for a job so very soon, and he said that I would like to get a job where my skill would be used. So these issues must have been there on the political agenda. But look at the way how political mobilization is taking place. It's all about personal slandering and personal, beating, bashing each other, talking about families, talking about women, so that's somewhere, I feel Delhi is a cosmopolitan place, and the election mobilization, the language of political mobilization during election should not stoop so low. We must have a standard of discussions.
Why are you talking about the language of political
parties.
mobilization? And that's so important. Perhaps the hub of the conversations and discourse around them is best represented in universities. Professor Tanvir Aeijaz, do you see that occupying discourse in universities anymore? Because, that's where you have most of the young voters. That's where you have the first-time voters. That's where issues are going to be discussed and debated. There was a time when all of this used to happen. But how closely connected and involved are the youth in universities now?
University used to be a place where there used to be free and fair discussion and debate. Now there's a palpable sense of fear in the university, because, of course, you cannot debate any issue without being political, right? All issues are political. So therefore, once the debate starts, either you take sides. But the unfortunate thing is that there is this sense amongst, not only amongst the students, but amongst the teachers as well, right? That perhaps they should not criticize the government. There should not be any, any dissent or any critical thinking. So if university as a space which is shrinking in terms of political discourse and debate, it has its very negative externality on the political mobilization. I mean, it has its very deep ramifications on the politics. Students would not be allowed to discuss things freely. Then how are they going to take positions when elections are there? So this is one thing. Of course, in universities, I'm finding it quite difficult. In fact, not only just teachers, students, but even, the non-teaching, those who are not at the powerful positions. So it is like, and there's a different kind of a debate which is going on every day in the university. In Delhi University, you will see, quite often on a regular basis, we have seminars and conferences, particularly on religion, right? On religion, not on the discussions about unemployment, the critical issues, but we always see there is always a discussion on religion, and back to Hindutva, back to Vedas, back to this. So I think it's not going to help our society if we keep on discussing the issues which are not really important for political mobilization.
In fact, I'm tempted to return to a first-time voter. Odisha Sharma joins us at this point. Odisha, you just heard a professor speak. You just heard an academician speak. Odisha, as you go to vote for the first time, how will you be decide? Have you decided whom to vote? Is there a preference in your mind already? On what basis?
So, hello everyone. As of yet, yeah, I'm somehow sure whom I will vote, and I am still deciding that who's the best candidate to for the betterment of our country, and what all should we keep in mind. And of course, I feel very responsible suddenly that I'm a young adult who will be casting vote for the very first time now, and it is very as in I feel very excited yet nervous that I have to keep in mind various issues before casting my vote. So yes, acknowledging your question, I have almost decided, but let's see. There's more way to.
So how have you decided? Based on what? I want to know. Is it because your family prefers a particular party, because there have been conversations around a particular party? Or is it based on some things that you have independently thought of? As a first-time voter, how are you moving in that direction, even though you say that you have largely finalized but have not, put that final stamp yet?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Of course, my family and what my family background is, that somehow obviously influences my decision. But I'm a young person who has to keep in mind the nitty-gritties of the situation, keeping in mind women issues, for example, unemployment, corruption, and various issues that has to be acknowledged. So as a young person, I believe it is my responsibility to take forward and be mindful of who's the next upcoming,
Okay. Odisha, in fact, is not just a first-time voter. She's also an intern at our organization. Good to have you, Odisha. But Arnav Tiwari, very quickly, 30 seconds if I can come to you. So Odisha said a lot depends on what the family is also thinking, though she has a mind of her own, but a lot would be, influenced by that. Arnav, do you see it that way? Is it largely with how your family thinks, how your family votes, the discourse in your family, or is it a very different direction for you?
Definitely, ma'am. It plays a very big role that what my family thinks and what my background is. But a crucial point here is that I, as an individual and as a person belonging to a very younger generation, can see and should be able to see different aspects of the government, the areas where they are lagging, which the older generation is most of the time not being able to see, the details of the things, right? So there are a lot of things that I also consider, and the good thing that I feel myself is I tell my parents about it.
Okay, Rahul Bajaj, I can see you smile, Rahul Bajaj. You know, these are two youngsters, first-time voters who are raring to go in these elections, but that's really not been the rule. You have a huge apathy when it comes to the national capital. You know, voters in 60%, 60s or in the late 50%. That's what been the track record largely. Rahul Bajaj, how do you look at it? Which side of the apathy debate are you on? Do you vote? Have you made your mind up? What's going to be the issues that that really make or mar this election for you, particularly because you're also part of a profile which is a very new age India profile. But do you think politicians really bother about this when it comes to asking for votes and the election season?
Thank you, Sneha. And the reason that I was smiling as well was listening to both the youngsters. I too have a teenage daughter, so in fact, she's also a first-time voter, and it's difficult to convince her to go to the voting booth and to vote, right? Because she's disillusioned. And she doesn't find any difference between any of the political parties. They're talking about getting into the debates, which frankly do not concern the youth. They do not concern the economy of the state, the betterment of the state, right? So, have we heard any of these parties talking about how the youth who are getting the right kind of education, and in fact, Delhi boasts of some of the best institutes in the country. It has probably the oldest and the best university, which is Delhi University. It has an IIT. It has the largest All India Institute of Medical Sciences, the Law University. So there are the infrastructure is something which goes so well for Delhi as compared to other metros. But are we able to beat Bangalore? Is any one of these the political parties talking about that in 5 years, when they leave the government, they'd be able to utilize the youth coming out of these particular universities, and they'll be able to double the or triple the GDP of the state? They'll be able to create what kind of job opportunities within the state? Are they saying that if the startups that I represent, there has been a startup policy in the making, which the current government of Delhi talked about in 2022-23, that they're going to be supporting around 15,000 startups by 2030. Who's talking about that? And of course, again, as we say that the necessity is the mother of all inventions. Delhi has huge necessity. We just heard the Environmentalist. What we are facing today is the Delhi government, or any of the political parties talking about that we are going to encourage youngsters, we are going to encourage startups to bring out clean tech in a way. We'll be
Rahul
supporting
Bajaj, you're
companies
making a very important point, and I want to delve into this a little bit more, Rahul Bajaj. Let me ask you this question because, every party has claimed that they have reached out to voters to get feedback. So, any party over the last year, have they reached out to you, to your colleagues, to your segment, as it were, the startup ecosystem in the national capital? Have they reached out to you all in any form to make you all the partners in a vision for Delhi?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If there would be, I think there are a lot of startups that are trying to do different things. Why would we not be ready to find solutions to the problems that Delhi is facing? And the solutions can be found. There are technology solutions that would help in the different problems, be it transportation, be it the environmental hazards that we are currently facing. It is the something on the on utilization of the manpower that we have. We haven't heard of any kind of setup or panel who's reaching out to the technology industry, to the startups, to work on these particular things for the city.
What an opportunity lost, even as they come after you all for votes. This is so, I don't blame your daughter, but I do hope she will have a conversation and you will have a better of her, and she will be with you at the voting booth, independent of you or with you. That's her choice. Amrita Sarkar, if I can come to you. Amrita Sarkar, you represent a very important segment, but do politicians take you seriously?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me in this crucial conversation. Even before going that, I would like to, highlight some challenge areas. As you know, in 2011 census, in India, the transgender population is around 4.88 lakhs. And in Delhi, it shows around 4,200. And I was looking at your screen. So in Delhi, you can see the number of the voters of the transgender community, right? It's around 1,200. So you can see there's a large gap. So I think I would like to recommend that this is something very important, and to address this gap, I think the central government and the state government has to work together. As you know, we have a Transgender Person Protection of Rights Act, right? And through that act, one can get the transgender person ID card, certificate, other facilities like that. But a very little percentage around, among these 4.88 lakhs, only around 30,000 people have received the transgender identity card. And if I talk about the basic services, including education, including health, legal aid, there's a lack of awareness among the service providers. That is a very important thing. And I think all of you will agree that education is the backbone of any society, right? So the literacy rate among the transgender people, according to this 2011 census, is only 56.1%. That is quite less, right? So I think these are the areas where the coming government, has to think about. And if I talk about, I was just talking to a trans colleague of mine. She is actually searching for, living place in Delhi. And for a trans person, getting up, place in rent, or, yes, we don't have that money to, buy. So there's DDA, this the Delhi Development Authority, they have given, I think, flats and also, I think, then these are the basic facilities, I think, as a citizen of India, as a taxpayer of India, I think these are the basic concerns. Definitely, I would like to highlight. I really appreciate the state government. I really appreciate the central government. But you have to sit with us. You have to talk to us. You have to know the challenges we are facing daily. That's how you can only can support us. Thanks. Yeah.
Amrita Sarkar, I want to ask you this question. You have this whole narrative that after 2014, how how political parties are wooing women voters. I want to ask you this. Has India reached that phase? Has Delhi reached that phase? We're talking about the battle for national capital. Has Delhi reached that place where transgender persons are seen as important stakeholders for the capital's future?
That is still a gap. I think that's why I have started with the number. First of all, you have to give, that impression that you know us, you know our community, you know how many of us are staying in this particular state, right? Then only you can reach to us, right? And in terms of taking part in political decision, in terms of having a political career like other binary identity, male and female, we cannot even think about it. And if you talk about the voter list, right? If you go to any place, you can see the majority of the people definitely will be male and female, and we don't have any problem with that. But the question is, if we think about any particular area, definitely you can find so many transgender people, transgender men, transgender women, people who are intersex. Are they really interested to, stand in the queue? So you have to give that much of security. Number one, that our, rights, our dignity is still, protected when we are going to cast our vote. That is the thing I think everyone has to ensure. Yeah.
Okay. As a parting shot, I would like to come to each one of you for a minute. And the question that I'm going to ask you, it's a common question to all of you. One, what do you think is the number one issue for political parties? Versus what do you think should be the number one issue according to you? Bhavreen Kandhari, let's start. What do you see as the number one issue that political parties are reaching out to? And what would you want to see as the number one issue?
To me, I'm just seeing them woo citizens with freebies, so they're just competing with each other. And of course, I'm very clear on health and clean air, which is extremely important. Like I said, we are losing our years of life and our children. We cannot afford to do that anymore. So that means, and clean air is not about just, it's clean air is about, vehicular emissions, it's about waste management, it's about industrial, chemical, it's about your, thermal power plants, it's about, everything. It's just so much. So everything needs to be brought in to the manifestos and most important is the political intent. Everything will go, it will get, done if there's a clear, honest intent and this non-denial kind of mode is, gone from there, yeah.
And a yes or a no, do you see any political party come close to raising the concern that you want to be prioritized? Any political party, yes or a no?
Yes, I can't say that they're all, they're not, everybody is, because there has been conversation now, at least in these winter months, there is conversation. So there are ways that they are bringing in, but we've not heard so far for the elections or in their manifestos, nothing. But during the parliament session, we were kind of, talking. We had a mini protest outside the parliament session, and then only the leader of the opposition, of course, he invited some of us into the parliament to speak about air pollution, but I don't think he got to take this further into the parliament. So it's not a complete no, but yes, it's not enough considering it's a very, very important issue. Yeah.
Okay, Professor Tanvir Aeijaz, what do you think are political parties prioritizing as number one versus what would you want your priority to be?
Well, political parties, they always prioritize their issues in a way that they would win elections. For them, what is so essential is just simply winning the elections. And perhaps, most of the political parties, they lack the imagination, they do not have that creative talents within them, to solve the problems that society face. So at the end of the day, you'll see, you'll see the same issues, being discussed by the political parties, and they're not at all concerned about the major issues. But for me, the major issues, of course, are, one, of course, is environment, right? This whole climate change, this pollution. So that has to be the number one issue, of any election in India, perhaps, So, but, my concern is that, the manner in which the education, particularly in Delhi, it's a cosmopolitan place where students come from different, parts of the country. So, I think political parties, they need to be more creative in terms of finding out a better education. Our education system is crumbling. Delhi University, somebody talked about, it's also crumbling. So I think it's very important that education should come. And of course, education would take care of environment also. We have environmental studies in our programs, but then education is one area which needs some very serious thought and serious concern about it.
Right. Rahul Bajaj, the same question to you.
Well, I feel that the priority for the political parties is to show who has spent how much in building whose home. And literally, I don't think the Delhiites are really interested in seeing what kind of jacuzzi has been installed in which politician's home. What I would be interested in hearing from them is that Singapore is a city country. Delhi is a city state. Is there a vision plan from any one of them who can say that in the next 10 to 15 years we are going to get at least a 50% or a 30% closer to what a city country is like, and can that development happen for that particular city, and the state and the center to stop fighting and start collaborating so that Delhi Heights can get what they deserve.
Right. Amrita Sarkar, the same question, Amrita Sarkar. What according to you should be the priority number one vis-a-vis what politicians according to you are seeing as priority number one?
If I see the news, I can see the importance as given by the state government. Sometimes it's electricity, sometimes it's pollution. I mean air pollution. Sometimes it's water. If I consider my community, I think we have to go step by step. I can give examples like there are so many states of India, they have transgender persons welfare board. So the state government closely work with, to get to the community to address their needs through this transgender person welfare board. I think that is my and my community's number one priority, to have a similar board in the capital. It's the capital of India and still we do not have any transgender
I think that's very important.
welfare board. Then only we'll be able to prioritize our issues like in terms of health, in terms of education, legal aid and all. And definitely one of our previous speaker, Mr. Tanvir, you talked about education very correctly. I think this is a basic area. We still do not have any gender sexuality curriculum in the educational institutes. So we have to work with the teachers. We have to bring awareness at the education level. So there are so many issues. I think there's a lack of time. So I think if I summarize, the main request from my community is, first of all, we'll have to have a transgender person welfare board. Then definitely we can prioritize our issues. We can sit with the government, talk to the government that these are the areas where we can
I think it's
still see that
absolutely
these are
unfortunate that in 2025 we are still demanding for a board such as this. That's absolutely unacceptable to all political parties who are contesting in Delhi for the battle for Delhi. I think this is absolutely unacceptable. Odisha Sharma and Arnav, to both of you, 30 seconds is. Odisha, first to you.
Okay, so ma'am, yeah, definitely. According to me, political parties are literally competing whose campaign is best. So I believe they are basically on the commercial side of it. Whereas sir also mentioned about education, which is the eventual solution to everything, be it air pollution, be it water, electricity, and everything. So I believe employment opportunities and better education is very crucial.
Okay, and Arnav?
Okay, ma'am, see, there are issues that they want to raise and there are issues that have to be raised. And there is a very big difference between them. I really want issues to be raised, and they should know that they should not just compete in the elections for the sake of winning, but for the sake of serving the people. And along with that, there are a lot of issues in terms of rights, in terms of education, in terms of environment. And I think they should focus on that more.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, just look at what just a handful of panelists have brought to this show. From wanting to prioritize pollution, health aspects of their life, to environment, to education, to a collaboration between the state and the center governments, to a transgender person's welfare board that is absolutely lacking in the national capital, to employment and so many issues. And if for once political parties would choose to prioritize them, the way they won the elections and the way the national capital would shape up would be absolutely different and a very different trajectory. Thank you very much to each one of you for taking your time out. And I do hope that politicians would pay more heed to this. Bhavreen Kandhari, Professor Tanvir Aeijaz, Rahul Bajaj, Amrita Sarkar, Odisha Sharma, as well as Arnav Tiwari. Can't thank you enough. Thank you very much. Time for a very short break. On the other side, news and updates.